Armageddon. What does the name mean? Will there be a great final war? Where is Armageddon located, and is it really going to happen? Armageddon is the day when all of the forces of evil line up against Jesus and a great battle ensues. Well, kind of. Here's how the Bible describes it in Revelation chapter 16. The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. Then they gathered the kings together in the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon. Armageddon comes from the Hebrew phrase Har Megiddo, which means Mount Megiddo. Now, Mount Megiddo is a real place in the northern end of the Jezreel Valley in northern Israel. I've been there to visit 3 times, and here are a couple of pictures. It's literally one of the most strategic military locations in the world. Here's why. Israel is located strategically at the intersection of Asia, Europe, and Africa. If you want to get from one continent to another, you could go through Israel or you could go through the desert. But nobody wants to march their army or send their caravan through the desert, so the most strategic way is to go through Israel. But what's even more interesting is that there's a small mountain/foothill range right here on this side of Israel, leaving only a 6-mile plain to be able to march your armies through. People have used this for centuries. The Babylonians used it, the Greeks used it, the Romans used it, the Egyptians used it to bring their armies through. But what's even more strategic is that 6-mile plain narrows to a mountain pass at, you guessed it, Megiddo. And so because of that, and because there's a water source there, there has always been a civilization at Megiddo that gets taken over by empire after empire and eventually became a Mount Megiddo. This is why 34 international battles have been fought at Megiddo, 12 of them in biblical times. And this is the place where John says the final battle is going to take place as well. Megiddo, Har Megiddo, Armageddon. Who are the kings lined up to battle on that day? The rider on the white horse, the champion of the light, the doer of justice. It is Jesus on this side, and all of the forces of evil mobilize on that day against Jesus himself. And it's described like this. I saw heaven standing open, and there before me was a white horse whose rider is called Faithful and True. With justice he judges and wages war. His eyes are like blazing fire, and on his head are many crowns. He has a name written on him that no one knows but he himself. He's dressed in a robe dipped in blood, and his name is the Word of God. The armies of heaven were following him, riding on the white horses and dressed in fine linen, white and clean. Coming out of his mouth is a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations. On his robe and on his thigh he has this name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Trust me, on this day, you want to be on the side of the rider of the white horse, because he will win. Did you notice that his robe is dipped in blood before the battle? That's because he has already won the war. On the cross, he paid with his own blood, not his enemy's blood. It is his own blood from the cross that pays for the victory. So he shows up at the battle, already dead, already resurrected, and totally victorious. Everybody behind him is in pure white because they've been purified by his blood. And that sword in his mouth is symbolic of justice. Justice that will not come through the typical use of force, but simply by speaking. Bam, bam, bam. Justice is brought about. The rider on the white horse is just that awesome. Now at this point, everybody on the planet has seen graphic displays of his power and has refused to join his army, the army of justice, goodness, and power. So before the earth is destroyed, evil must be eliminated. Here's what it says. Then I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to wage war against the rider and his horse and his army. But the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet who had performed signs on his behalf. With these signs he had deluded those who had received the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. The 2 of them were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur, and the rest were killed with the sword coming out of the mouth of the rider on the horse. and all the birds gorged themselves on their flesh. Now the beast, aka the Antichrist, and the false prophet, who points all people to worship him, are captured and thrown alive into the fiery lake. Everybody else is instantly killed with the sword of his mouth. Jesus just says the word, and the battle is over. We, the Lord's army, won't even need to fire a single shot or raise a single sword. Jesus wins it all just by what he says. That's why this is a great battle, kind of. Jesus wins so easy. The whole story happens at the end of the Revelation narrative. This is the last scene of planet Earth as we know it. For thousands of years, God does all he can to win the hearts of humanity and reclaim billions of people who would love his kingdom of justice, of rightness, of peace. But before that kingdom is fully established, evil must be trounced. This is Armageddon. You need to know that the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords still holds out his hand to welcome you into his family, to invite you to transfer your citizenship to the kingdom of light, and to trust in his leadership alone. He wants you on his team of rightness, goodness, and peace. Won't you join him? Hey, if you like this video and you'd like to have more Revelation extras, go ahead and click here. If you'd love to learn more about the whole book of Revelation, check it out right here. And if you'd like to subscribe to our videos, click right here, subscribe.